All right, good evening, everybody. Steve with Real Progressives. Tonight is a message of hope. Tonight will be a message of how to get to where we're trying to get to. It's going to be a message without splitting hairs, without sitting there fanning the flames. It's just going to be a direct punch to the gut, straightforward to victory, and straightforward to actual change that we can friggin' hang our hats on. But before I go there, I want to talk for a moment about the People's Summit. I want to clear up a few myths, and I want to make a few personal statements about it. First things first. You know what? I'm not there. I didn't go there, and there's a reason I didn't go there. I wasn't interested in going to the People's Summit. I probably should have gone for the networking purposes of it, but I never ever found the need to go there. It was not something that I was interested personally in attending. We did have 5 individuals from Real Progressives that went and participated, and they talked to people about Real Progressives. They talked to people about MMT. They talked to people about networking and working together for the future. So that's a really, really good thing for us. However, let's be clear. This People's Summit did not include the likes of Shama Sawant. It did not include the likes of Dr. Jill Stein. It did not include the likes of Ajamu Baraka. It did not include the likes of many, many, many voices that if we were looking at an inclusive People's Summit, we should expect to see. There was very, very little in terms of diversity represented there. You can only do what you can do to some extent, but I don't believe that there was nearly enough diversity. And this is a problem that has plagued the progressive movement for as long as I've been a progressive. We have unfortunately skewed white. We have unfortunately skewed male. And for whatever reason, we have got to work on inclusion, whatever it takes by any means necessary. We have got to work on inclusion because that is literally the only way this movement is going to take off the way it should take off. Now, let me say this also, and this is the final word I'm going to say. You know, the reason why I support the Draft Bernie crew is not because I support running for Bernie Sanders. It's not because I think, I need Bernie in my life. It's not because I want to put Bernie up on a pedestal. It's because I understand that us hardy activists in our less than 1% status are not enough to win anything. We have got to have the zombie class. We've got to have the people that are progressives that are afraid to leave the party. We've got to have the progressives that maybe think that they still have a chance of reforming the Democratic Party. We have got to find a way to extract those Democrats, or we lose. It's the truth. It's the straight truth and nothing but the truth. I am purely a third-party guy. I am looking to work outside of the Democratic Party. I'm not interested in being in the Democratic Party. That does not mean that I will pretend that the Democratic Party doesn't exist. That does not mean that I will forsake commenting on and participating in trying to advance legislation regardless of who is in power. So if you're one of those people that feels the need to check out of the system completely, I'm probably going to piss you off, and I'm going to get over it just like you will. All right. Now, without further ado, let me bring on my guest. Ellis is not my guest. Ellis is my partner in crime. Ellis, let's go ahead and make this thing happen, brother. How are you doing tonight?
What's happening, Stephen?
Not too much, man. So let's talk about hope for a minute. This process that we're in the United States is a little bit different than the UK. Because we have a first past the post, we have a duopoly. That's the way the system is structured right now. It's up to us to break that down. However, in the UK, some amazing things have happened, and you've been very passionate, and you've been on top of it from end to end. Talk to us about the hope that you feel coming out of Jeremy Corbyn's victories.
That's what it is. Victory. Victory for Labour, victory for Corbyn, victory for the people, for the working class. That is what you saw in the general election. End of story. I do not care how the Murdoch media tries to spin the bullshit. They can do it all they want. And let me take this moment, get it out of the way real quick to say a quick fuck you to Chris Leslie, okay? No matter what these Blairite pieces of shit say, it was a victory. It was a victory for the people of the UK, for the working class, for the working man and woman, for the average person. That's what it was. Jeremy Corbyn, the supposedly unelectable man, now, at this moment, the most successful Labour leader since Tony fucking worthless Blair. Okay? So, Theresa May, Tories, Rupert Murdoch, all of you right up there. Yeah? Fuck you. All right? Hope. Corbyn made it clear that the British people voted for hope. And that's exactly what they did, because desperation amongst the population after 7 years of fucking austerity. Yeah, 7 long years and death associated with that. All right? After all that, they're desperate for hope. Corbyn gave it to them, and it's genuine. And that's why Corbyn is sitting there right now, all right, challenging Theresa May. And Theresa May and the Tories lost their mandate, called a snap election, and lost everything all at once because people think neoliberalism sucks. Okay? Yeah. And so the same can be done here in America, you see. And yes, like you have right up there on the screen now people can see that. But it says, as I've said before the election, we'll continue to say hope is the most important thing here. And it is. It must be genuine hope. And MMT is that message of genuine hope. End of story.
So, Ellis, we have a situation right now, and I'll just tell you, in the United States, you were on the wall, my page, where author and journalist David Akajian was attacking me mercilessly. Very much a vote blue sycophant, very much a new Democrat, very much an ignoramus when it comes to economics, very much an ignoramus about what it takes to actually make change occur. He wrote a book called The Little Book of Revolution, and yet at the same time you see him beating down revolutionaries, trying hard to change the narrative. I mean, this is what we are up against in the United States. Forget the conservatives. We got these bastards on the left that claim to be progressives, but are really a wolf in sheep's clothing. They're a fucking neoliberal. Talk to me about this, man. You saw it happen. What do you think?
Yeah, the New Democrat means neoliberal. That's exactly what it means. See, just like in the UK, New Labour, okay, that was neoliberal. Still is neoliberal. But you see, the Labour Party is a bit different than the Democratic Party. Okay, here you got the duopoly. Okay, you either got Republicans, or you got Democrats, or you got fuck all. Okay, over in the UK, you've got your Conservatives, the Tories, and over here you got Labour, and you have other parties too. You got Greens and whatnot, and all of them can get some representation and win seats. You see, it's a little bit different. And so when we talk about the Labour Party and Jeremy Corbyn taking it back to its roots, where it belongs, where it came from, and where it needs to be going, away from these worthless fucking Blairites, which are called New Labour, okay, those were neoliberals under Tony Blair. Tony Blair is a creation of Margaret Thatcher. Don't care what anyone else says. And the whole point of Tony Blair was to destroy the Labour Party. Okay? To utterly ruin it. Which they almost did. Okay? They turned it into a neoliberal machine, a Tory-like machine. Okay? Well, New Democrats are the same fucking thing as Blairites. They're neoliberals. Yeah. New Labour, neoliberal. New Democrat, think about it. New Labour, New Democrat. They're all the fucking same. They're a bunch of Republican-like, Tory-like conservatives. Okay? They're neoliberals. They don't give a fuck about the working man and woman. They don't give a fuck about the people. They only give a fuck about banks and making fucking money for the rich. That's it. Okay? So when a New Democrat comes to me and says, oh, you don't understand. We need to have revolution, real revolution, and how we do that is the way Obama has done it, and the way Clinton, we need to go back to the policies of Bill Clinton. The policies of Bill fucking Clinton are the same thing as the policies of the fucking Tony Blair. They're worthless neoliberal trash, okay? That's all it is. Fucking trash, the lot of it, all right? So, Blairites, get the fuck out of Labour, yeah? New Democrats, just fuck off. Why? Because I don't want your party. Your fucking Democratic Party is useless. It's a trash pit of neoliberalism, and it needs to die with neoliberalism, and it will too. That's why we need a third party in America, okay? You need a third party in America to do what we did over there in the UK, because there's no taking back. I mean, the Democratic Party itself is a giant cancer. Okay, there's no healing the cells here. But Labour is a body that got cancer called New Labour. But we got rid of that tumor, okay? But you can't do that here in America. You got to overthrow the establishment, and the only way to do it is to get rid of the Democratic Party. You got to make it insignificant. You got to squash it. There's no hope. And this People's Summit, what the fuck is that about? You're telling Jill Stein, Barack are not allowed, not there. Oh well, but this is a People's Summit. Oh, what people? Which people are we talking about? People's or Certain People's Summit? This is the Certain People's Summit, okay? You're not going to get where the UK got in this last election here in America, all right? You're not going to see that kind of rapid, swift change with a Some People's Summit, okay? Got me? And whilst you're talking, Stephen, going on a rant and whatnot, I'm going to have this Guinness here. First time in real progressive history, I'm going to drink a Guinness online, right here on live stream. And I'm going to do this because I want to say a big congratulations and thank you to all my brothers and sisters like Prue and Patricia and Stephen and everybody else in the UK. Hey, way to go, Labour. All right, come on, you Reds. Go ahead, Stephen, give us a rant. I'm gonna drink this here. Don't worry, it won't take long. Okay, you can talk. And
so while you're doing that, I want to put up a post that I think is just smashingly awesome, Ellis, and I think you'll agree.
Hey, go ahead.
Here's what it says. It says, if a candidate or elected official still believes and or acts as if U.S. federal financing is analogous to a household budget, he or she should lose the right to run or hold office.
Absolutely.
I would say that is also inclusive of those trying to, in any way, shape, or form, lead a movement. I'm not just talking about elected officials. I'm talking about people that want to lead marches. I'm talking about people that want to lead efforts. I'm talking about people in general. This right here is so important, so absolutely important, that if we ever want to see what's happening over there in England and the UK as a whole, if we ever want to see that here, we need to kick these people that don't want to take the time to learn this shit, and we need to make them feel the heat, make them feel the pain of being ignorant, make them understand that their belief system is a cancer to progress, make them understand, quite frankly, that if they don't get on board, the train is leaving without them. And I mean to tell you, I would say this to my own mother. I would say this to my brother. I would say this to friends, partners, allies, you name it. If you believe in any way, shape, or form that the government should operate like a household budget, not only are you a bona fide idiot, but you are part of the problem that is holding us back from actually having a real honest-to-God revolution. What do you say, Ellis?
Exactly. This thing right here, this statement up here, is exactly what I said several months ago. I mentioned in an article or post, I can't remember now, that anyone anywhere who's running for federal office who says that federal taxes fund spending and all that, anyone like that is not fit to hold that office. They're not fit to run, all right, until they get their shit straight. And this is true right here. This is exactly the truth. Anyone who says that federal financing, okay, federal spending is just like a household spending, is not qualified to either run for that office or to even serve in that office. They're not fit, all right? Not fit. They need to go away, all right? End of story. They need to go out.
I want to just say this. We get a lot of idiot fighting. I mean, we're talking about the low end of the gene pool, okay? Mm-hmm. I've been outright brutal about this to the extreme. But I'm here to tell you, I want to take a pause back while you down that last bit of Guinness.
It's all gone. I don't know what to do.
Have a sip of it for me, because trust me, the last drink this homeboy's ever had was September 15th, 2006.
Yes, but this is in English. This is the British thing, okay? This is different. It's different. And there's nothing left. Fuck it.
I should go grab an O'Doul's somewhere. I'm sure I've got one to join you. But anyway, I want to state this for the record here real quickly. We have, unfortunately, cast aside any opportunity for hope and change, and real hope and change, not the bullshit Obama peddled, but the real, honest, fucking real hope and change, because we are full cups. How can you change when your cup is filled and you can't learn more? How can you ever make progress if your cup is full and you can't learn more? And in our movement, I have been trying to tell people, listen, unfortunately, the quote-unquote woke amount to less than 1% in this country. They really do. We are talking about a country that has literally been put to sleep by mainstream media, by bad academics, by poor teaching in schools, by poor civics, poor economics in the university level even. I mean, every step along the way, our society has been lulled to sleep. When we sit there and we try to make change, and you look, this goes back to the People's Summit for a moment. A lot of these people there are tired as hell, and this is in defense of them, so we're on the same page. They're tired as hell of all the negativity. They're tired as hell of everybody cutting each other's legs out from under them. They're tired as hell at all the sniping. They're tired as hell at people acting holier than thou. And this is the worst part. There are people that claim they're woke and they act woke and they're real truth seekers, but yet at the same time they peddle Federal Reserve myths. And when you look at that, you realize that you can't make progress peddling a lie about economics. Because economics, regardless of whether you like capitalism or not, whether you like this or not, or whether you want a socialist utopia or not, whether you want this or that, you've got to know economics, because you can't get shit done without it. I mean, not anything. You can have the greatest ideas in the world. There's some marches coming up in July for healthcare. I'm really, really chewing on joining up with them, because I don't believe they have the economics right to make them happen. And that really is troubling, because I don't want to associate myself with piss poor economics. I want people to look at me and say, that guy Grumbine, he's a straight shooter when it comes to econ. I can trust what he's saying. And I don't believe that putting my name along things where people are peddling bullshit about the Federal Reserve in any way, shape, or form helps me keep my integrity intact. And that for me is very important. And I'm looking at this and I'm seeing a lot of people, in particular in our progressive movement, that are not completely woke as they think they are. They absolutely believe they've got clockwork orange eyes wide open. They think they're that kind of woke. But in reality, they're in like a twilight. They don't really know what's going on. They just know they're angry, they're ready to go, but they don't know where they're going. And that is what we're talking about tonight, Ellis, I believe, is a clear direction for how we can get there.
Yeah, the problem that we have in America is one of desperation. Yeah. The problem is, and this is just my opinion, the problem is Americans just aren't desperate enough for change. They want to talk about change. Oh, well, we want change. There's not enough desperation. When you go to the UK and you watch the last 7 years of the Tories trying to lord it over the people, okay? And in this election, by the way, going to the media and basically telling the people how they should vote. Literally wanting to run an authoritarian regime right on the people. As Jonathan Pye said, like that in Turkey. All right. When you have that kind of crap going on, okay, and the suffering is immense, and people have died from these policies, declaring people with terminal cancer fit for work, and then stripping them of all their benefits, and leaving them to die. Okay, the death toll is high over the last 7 years in the UK. There's a lot of desperation. People are desperate for change. And we have been hammering and hammering away at the UK with the message of MMT, the message of hope. Okay, and now in the UK, since this last year alone, the acceptance level has been tremendous. People are wanting to know more. People are desperate to hear this message of hope that MMT brings. Okay, they are desperate to hear that the austerity was not necessary, that the UK government's not broke, that it doesn't tax in order to spend, that it doesn't borrow, okay, that it is the issuer of the British pound. People want we've even got Marxists now going, oh, tell me more, tell me more. The people are eating it alive because it is a message of hope, okay? And part of that election, we've had people out there with MMT hitting the streets, telling the truth on social media. This is the result that you get. Now, and if the Blairites had not been fucking about, like Chris Leslie, Jeremy Corbyn would be in number 10 right now, and they'd be in government, all right? So in the US, though, the desperation level is not that great. People, they say, oh, well, I've got up, I'm gonna go watch me Walking Dead now. Oh, I'm gonna get me new television. I'm gonna go dig a hole in the backyard. Oh, I'm gonna do everything, because there's so many distractions in the US. The propaganda machine is very, very thick here. And desperation, even though there's extreme poverty, desperation in the US has not reached a critical level like it has in the UK. All right? And sadly, the people that you're talking about, they would rather play fucking games than actually get desperate enough to say, look, this shit's getting thick. We need to stop this now. We need suggestions for solutions. We need real solutions. We need to talk about solutions. We need to stop talking about Trump's hairdo. We need to stop talking about Cheeto and Chief and this Kofief shit. But they can't. They're just wasting our fucking time. And I said last week, before the election, these people, they go on and on and on. 45 minutes of talking about Trump's hairdo or his tax returns is 45 minutes you don't have a job guarantee, you don't have full employment, you don't have universal health care, you don't have anything, all right? And that's 45 minutes that more people are going to die because you want to play fucking games. Well, I'll tell you what, when you get desperate enough, like they did in the UK, all right, where you don't know how you're going to fucking eat, you don't know where you're going to fucking sleep, and all your liberties are being trampled and taken away, then you'll start listening to the MMT. And you'll realize that Steve there is not cussing you out and attacking you. He's trying to get you to listen to reason, all right? Because the truth is, you are desperate. You just don't fucking realize it yet because you've got plenty of credit cards. Let me tell you, when the next crash comes, you're going to be in pain. Your thumbs are going to be in the fucking screws then. And you're going to be wondering what the fuck to do. Well, we got the message. Federal taxation does not fund federal spending in the US. The US government is the issuer of the dollar. The national debt is bollocks. It doesn't exist. All right? It's just a record of all dollars ever spent by the US government minus what it's taxed. It's all bunk. The US government can buy anything that it wants as long as it's for sale in US dollars because the private sector does not produce US dollars. What do you think? We're running a big counterfeiting ring here? The fuck's wrong with you? Wake the fuck up, man, before you actually have to get desperate. You don't want desperation like you saw in the UK. You don't want the US government coming in and telling people who are clearly disabled, people who are clearly dying of terminal illness, you are fit for work, your disability is cut off, we'll find a fucking job. You don't want Maine's policies, the state of Maine, which we talked about last week. You don't want the state of Maine's policies being nationwide here, all right? You don't want to get to that level of desperation before you say, oh, could I hear a message of hope? Stop playing fucking games. Stop treating politics like a hobby. Stop treating economics like it's a belief system and a hobby. Get with a program before more people have to die. It's real simple. Fuck.
Ellis, I want to just say, for the record, you have been instrumental over and over and over again in making sure that people understand, that this is a real big movement, if you will, even though MMT is not a movement. Truth is a movement, and the movement is being fueled, if you will, by pain and suffering. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up, it's a tweet by or a comment made by Warren Mosler. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it up here for a second.
Sure.
I think that we were talking the other day about taxes, funding, spending, and so on and so forth. But I think this is a very important comment that he made, and I'll bring it up right now. He said basically taxes function to create sellers of goods and services looking for that currency in exchange.
Aye, that's exactly correct. That's exactly what federal taxes do. That's exactly what taxes in the United Kingdom, the government of the United Kingdom. That's exactly what they do in Australia. It's what they do in Japan and Canada. All right? That's what they do. They create sellers of goods and services. Why? Because the government is the authority. How else can you say this? The government can prosecute war and kill people in foreign lands. The government can imprison people for treason. Okay, it's a very powerful federal government. Okay, and the UK government's a very powerful national government. All right, that's what we have national governments for, to rule the country. Okay, they can be good or they can be bad. You can have ones that are dictatorships, like North Korea, or you can have a national governments like the United Kingdom or the United States, where people have certain liberties and whatnot. But either way, the national government is in charge. And in the US, we're talking about the federal government. The federal government's in charge. It lays a tax. That's what it does. And then it declares that I will punish you if you do not pay this tax. I'll put you in prison. I'll take everything you own if you do not pay this tax. And the private sector says, my goodness, what do we use to pay taxes? Well, you need US dollars. And where do I get them? From me. I'm the fucking government. I'm the currency issuer. You need to get them from me. Guess what happens? What Warren said. The market sells its goods and services to the US government in exchange for the government's currency. And guess what else the government gets to do? Because it's the currency issuer, it gets to decide the price it will pay for those goods. It's the price setter as well. Okay? There's lots of implications for mainstream inflation theory. Furthermore, I might add that when the private sector then sells its goods and services to the US government, guess what happens? Demand is created for the dollar. And that is exactly why we use that fucking dollar. That's why it's the greatest monetary instrument, the most widely accepted one in the United States, because of the fucking tax. It creates sellers of goods and services. People need the dollar to pay the tax, and whatever they have got left over that they haven't paid taxes with, guess what they do? They save it or they buy things with it. That's why. The US dollar doesn't come from George Soros. The US dollar doesn't come from Donald Trump, you fucking moron. Wake the fuck up! It's a fucking number, it's a piece of paper. It's not a rare commodity that you dig out of the fucking ground or pan out of the streams in Alaska. It's just a number. What matters here is the food, the clothing, the DVDs, the cars that can be created. That's what matters, the real resources. All right? And if the nation has plenty of real resources, then the government has to issue enough dollars in order to make sure that everyone can access those real resources. And when it does not, it commits murder.
Amen. Fucking man. Ellis, I want to just say something. Much of our progressive media even has gotten caught up in sensationalism even now today. It's caught up into infighting amongst groups, sniping at them, sniping back. Hey, you're a charlatan. No, you're a charlatan. You're this, you're that, and the other. And the reality is that this right here, when you tell them this, their head explodes. The United States government is monetary sovereign. It can never run out of currency. It issues U.S. dollars. This is so fundamental to every problem we suffer from in this nation. And people are just so steeped in bullshit. I mean, I'm telling you right now, they will spend hours and hours and hours talking about conspiracies about the Federal Reserve. They would rather talk about nonsense than ever learn how to fucking fix our country and save people's lives. And that, to me, when I talk to them about this stuff and I hear they just don't care, they don't get it, they're whatever, to me, that means that they're just as bad as charlatans as the mainstream media. I mean, seriously, Ellis, when we're talking about one of my favorite ones these days is the one that they always point to, which is the Iceland deal, right? They look at Iceland and they say, hey, we jailed all the banksters, really cool saunter about banksters and stuff. And yeah, I fucking hate the banksters that fucked the country. But guess why they did it? Folks, they didn't do it because, shame on them. They did it because shame on our fucking Congress. Congress allowed this to happen. If you want to jail someone, I think there's 525 fools that you can jail right there. You want to talk about the real criminals, the real ones that are holding us back from being successful. It's not the one person at the top, Trump, Obama, Bush, whoever. It is straight up our Congress who has the power to make these changes.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, folks, when I see people flailing about talking about Iceland, it tells me they haven't dug deep enough. They're still thimble deep. They're still using buzzwords, great bumper sticker logic. And you know what? Unfortunately, the truth requires one or two sentences more than the bumper sticker. I mean, seriously, it's ridiculous. But you could simply say Congress, and you would be right 100 times out of 100. In fact, Stephanie Kelton said point blank, the answer every single time to how we're going to pay for it is Congress.
Yeah.
That's it. Every single time. How are we going to pay for it? Congress. What fund spending? Congress. How are we going to pay for it? Congress. Not taxes. We don't need to find money. We don't need to cut something here to find money there. That's not how it works. But we're lied to day in and day out, and that is the lack of hope. That's what depresses hope in this nation. I mean, that's exactly what we're fighting against day in and day out, is to unplug you guys from the idiocy and remind you of how important this is right here. This freaking meme right here is 1,000% the answer to your problems, our problems. And once you realize that, there's no more excuses anymore. You're done with the excuses. You're done with the lies. You're done with the bullshit. You're done with saying, well, Social Security's going broke. What about healthcare? It won't be, we can't afford it.
No,
on and on and on.
It's one of those new Keynesian Krugman. I call him Krugman. I don't care if his name's pronounced Krugman. It sounds better because I say Count Krugula. All right? The little fucker, the little bearded fucker, he sits there and he says, oh, well, you could increase spending now, but you'll face some hard choices down the road. Fuck you. That's what I got to say. Fuck you. And we'll get into this, talk about why is Alice so vulgar?
Well,
there's a good reason for it, but I want to go back to this Iceland thing really quick before people get a little bit too lost about it. Iceland had a lot of problems, and you had a crisis there, and the banks collapsed and all this shit. And they said, well, they jailed the bankers, and that solved the problem. No, it didn't. And I'm not sitting here saying that the bankers should not be jailed, because look, I've been on the record many times that we need to throw their asses in prison. Okay, they belong in prison. And factually, the government should have nationalized those banks. All right? But when it comes to Iceland, the reason why they're doing better than everybody else is because they're actually deficit spending. Okay, that's why Iceland's doing so much better than the UK, and doing so much better than the US, and doing so much better than Australia, because they're actually doing something. All right, it's not jailing the bankers and everything's all right. There's deficit spending going on, so you need to understand that. And then there's this. I cannot for the life of me understand why people need to fight amongst themselves over puerile nonsense. All right. Orthodox economics, I'm saying it for the last time, Orthodox economics is religious mysticism. It's a faith-based religion. When you take MMT, which is currency analysis, and then you apply it, all right, when you look at that analysis, it suggests certain things, all right, and those suggestions are all in contradistinction to what orthodoxy says. DSG, ISLM, they're all bunk. You suddenly realize this is all bullshit. It's all market worship, all right? And that's what it is. Orthodox economics is the creation of a false market god and tells you you need to worship it. And governments are there, and in the case of the Keynesians, they're there just give you a boost in case the market has a little problem. Give it a boost. Stimulus, a word that I hate. But where I'm going with this is simple. The orthodoxy is a religious thing, all right? It's faith-based religion, all right? And without MMT, that's what it is. Now, with MMT, the orthodoxy collapses entirely. The religious dogma fails. The market god becomes unreal. The private sector's supremacy notion evaporates. And what's left is reason and not religious mysticism. That's why we call it macroeconomic reality. Okay? It suggests real solutions. So when you sit there and say, oh, Steve is harping on MMT, I cannot understand his constant blah, blah, blah about MMT. And there's Ellis. He's talking about MMT and blah, blah, blah. And I cannot understand why that he thinks that's the most important thing and blah, blah, blah. The problem here is simple. Because you sitting here telling me that printing money will cause hyperinflation when printing money doesn't exist. But, I mean, you can call it printing money if you want to call it, fine, whatever. But it doesn't exist. You want to sit there and tell me that that's the case, or the national debt's out of control, or the Federal Reserve is soaking up bonds so that it can charge the government interest? Yet it's the currency. Yet you're saying that the Federal Reserve can't run out of money. It creates all the money we have now, but for some reason it needs to earn interest. See the middle fingers going up? I'm tired of the conspiracies, okay? People are dying. Listen to me very carefully. The US government alone controls the unit of account. In this country, that is the US dollar. Nothing can issue the US dollar but the US government, all right? Banks can't issue it. They can peg to it, but they can't issue it, all right? The Federal Reserve is a central bank. It has to issue high-powered money. It has to admit that so that it can control the payment system and conduct monetary policy. Monetary policy is not fiscal policy. What is it you're not understanding here? We need solutions. I'm tired, and the world is tired, and this country is very tired of hearing you tell us all about what's wrong. Do you think that the homeless man this year, who was not homeless last year, doesn't know what the problem is? Do you really think that the parents of starving children don't know what the problem is? Do you know, there are kids starving in this country. Yeah, we know that. There are people homeless in this country. Yeah, we know that. And then talking about the Cheeto in cheap. That's a solution? Fuck you. See that? I'm going to leave this finger here for you to see that. All right? That's a big fuck you. That's not a solution. Talking about Kofi, talking about a typo, whatever the fuck that drunk son of a bitch was typing. Who the fuck knows? And guess what? Who the fuck cares? All right? Because it has nothing to do with fuck all. It just has nothing to do with fuck all. The problem here in this country is simple. You've got the Republican Party, which has gone nuts. Okay? They're crazy. All right? And then you've got the Democratic Party, which is no different than New Labour. It's a bunch of neoliberal fucking cocksuckers. There, I said it, and I'll say it again. The Democratic Party is a bunch of fucking cocksuckers. There. I said it, and I will say it again if I have to.
One more time for good measure, sir.
The Democratic Party is a group of fucking cocksuckers.
There we go.
Yeah. Right, they're neoliberal cocksuckers, and the truth is they are out to protect banks and the financial industry and all that crap, all right? They're there to expand private debt and make billions for all of their corporate donors, and that's it. And they're feeding you a line of shit. And that shit is, well, the federal government has no money of its own, and it has to tax in order to pay for shit. And national debt's a real crisis. Remember what Hillary Clinton said in the debate with Donald Trump? She said that the national debt is It's a serious problem. It needs to be addressed. And I'm mining for nose gold. I'm mining for nose gold to peg it to the dollar because of the instability. Fuck this shit. I'm done with this rancid crap. Every single fucking day we get out there, it's either me or Stephen Hale or Federal Kaboom or somebody, Warren Mosley, Stephanie Kelton. We're all out there. And there are people like Prue in the UK, desperate, fighting for Labour and fighting to save the NHS, you know, and Patricia out there fighting for Labour and fighting for people and spreading the message of MMT. We're there to try and stop the madness. And some progressives here in this country seem to think that it's better to stick a finger up the nose and say, on the one hand, we hate Hillary Clinton, we're not Clintonists, fuck the Democratic Party. And then sit there and tell you, whilst mining for nose gold, that federal taxes fund federal spending and Hillary Clinton's right, the national debt's a crisis. How the fuck can you claim that you are opposing Hillary Clinton and then in the next breath say, oh, she's right, you know, the national debt's a crisis? What the fuck is wrong with you? Do you not realize that this is just a sham? Where do you think dollars come from? The moon or aliens? You know, Predator. That's where they come from. You know, the ones that fight the aliens with the jaws of the fight. You know, the one that Arnold Schwarzenegger looked up at in the movie Predator. You're one ugly motherfucker. You know that one? That Predator there, there's 9-foot beast? Yeah, that's where US dollars come from. Yeah, no, they come from the ocean. That's where. No, the dinosaurs. Yeah, Godzilla. No, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's just a fucking number. It's a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper. It's a coin, or it's a number typed into existence. You act like these are things that are rare. They're not. I'm sorry, I'm getting on a rant and I'm very off topic, but this shit's really pissing me off. I'm starting to get angry about this because here we had a successful election. We showed the world what hope can achieve. A message of hope. And yet America says, well, you know, we're not ready for hope because we're not desperate enough. I need to scratch my ass. And now I want to watch The Walking Dead and maybe catch another episode of Big Brother, one of the ancient ones. And, let's fight the system. Let's tear it down, and Fed needs to be ended. Yeah, I need to feel like I belong. I'm a big follower. Fuck you.
Amen, brother.
Fuck you. Fuck off with your following shit. Why don't you get out there and do something productive? Look, you act like the government's my friend. The government's my friend. We hate the GOP because the government's our friend. And then in the same breath, you say that you refuse to believe that the government issues the dollar, and no one else does. So you're saying that the private sector's your friend. You're saying that the rich are your friends? No, they're the people we gotta fight. Okay, well, while you're doing that, thousands and thousands of people will die or go homeless or go hungry and continue to live in poverty. Poverty will increase, by the way. You won't get health care. And then you say, well, we need our class war. Fuck you. Again, there's another middle finger. And the reason why I'm giving a middle finger for the class war argument is simple. Because MMT solves the class war problem once and for all. It puts the rich in the position of where they belong. You know where they belong? Irrelevancy. Because they are irrelevant. What is it you don't understand here? If the US government alone is the issuer of the currency, then the rich are irrelevant. That means that the rich got rich because they are the greatest beneficiaries of deficit spending. The fuck is wrong with you? All right? You want actual change, then you have to start here. The answer is not MMT. The answer is simple. You listen to what MMT is saying. You listen to, oh, these are all factually correct. All right, what does it imply? What does MMT imply? Once you know the answer to that, then you know where we're going, where we need to go. MMT just points you in the right direction. It says, go that way. If you want this, you can go that way. All right? And when I say, look, the rich are irrelevant, guess what happens with these people? Oh, fuck you. That's what they tell me, okay? And then I say, well, look, the government issues the currency. Fuck you. What the fuck do you need all this drama for? Get off your fucking ass and do something productive. It's called an education. You get down there and you learn about what really is going on with your government, how federal financing actually works. And when you understand that, You'll be much better off. You'll be able to go out and actually make change. Guess what? Here's what we need. We need a federal job guarantee. We need full employment. We need universal health care. And we should fight for that right now. Instead of standing in the middle of Washington, D.C., screaming about Trump's tax returns and talking about his hair and saying Cheeto and cheap. What the fuck does that do for anybody? I mean, seriously. Yeah, I'm off topic. I got it. But still, I mean, fuck this shit.
Wait, real quick, I want to answer PC's question. So PC, just so you understand, first things first, in July, I believe it's the second week of July, we'll be speaking at the Green Party National up in New Jersey. I will be talking about MMT there. Then the Minnesota Democracy Convention, we've gone ahead and we are sponsoring Rohan Gray from the Modern Money Network to go out there and talk about MMT with a panel of AMI and public banking. And then I am planning to go out there as well for a day, maybe two, to discuss alternative media and discuss Real Progressive's place in the fight. So, and to put a exclamation point on it, tomorrow night we'll have Jordan Sheraton join us. But then Thursday night, we're going to go ahead and have David Cobb come on. So I'll talk to him about all this stuff then as well. But Ellis, let me just say something to you. Your rant was absolutely epic. And I think that more people need to hear these kinds of rants because I don't think that they understand exactly how their lack of acceptance of this very, very basic meme right here, spectacularly done by the deficit owls. They don't realize that, in fact, by ignoring this, by pretending it doesn't exist, by sitting there and saying ridiculously worthless things about the Federal Reserve and using anti-Semitic myths and legends about the Rothschilds and chasing the Rothschilds around. First of all, it's a disgusting, worthless, filthy, vile, bigoted,
you realize that shit comes from the Nazis, right? Over in Nazi Germany.
It came from, you know what? I did some research on it. That was one of the second or third iterations.
Right. I'm just saying, hopefully people could understand that you're calling yourself a progressive, but you're also purporting this Rothschild's conspiracy, all right? Which is an anti-Semitic piece of bullshit that the fucking Nazis, Adolf Hitler himself, was promoting in fucking Germany. I mean, what the fuck is wrong with you? All right, it's a central bank and nothing more than that. Yeah, the board of governors makes stupid decisions. So Congress makes stupid decisions too. Why are you so damn adamant about blaming the fucking Federal Reserve, but avoiding blaming Congress? You want to make excuse? Let's excuse Congress. Oh, I see. Because you vote for Congress, that means that you're to blame too. Eat it! Eat it!
Ellis,
throw it down and let it fucking burn. It's your fault. It's my fault.
Exactly.
It's everybody's fault. Fuck it. Now get rid of the fucking Congress and put some people in there that are willing to do the right fucking thing. Like we did over in the UK. See how that works? Put people in Parliament that are willing to do the right thing.
Ellis, I'm going to say this. I would put the blame on them also for cock blocking what we're talking about as well. For every time Congress does what the will of the people is, even if they don't realize it. If the will of the people is stupidity and the will of the people is representative of believing the federal government shouldn't spend more than it has, so it should pinch pennies, then the Congress does what the will of the American people is, which is pure, unadulterated stupidity.
That's exactly correct. That's exactly correct. If the will of the people is neoliberalism, Congress is going to dish out neoliberalism. In other words, if the will of the people is to expand bank lending instead of the federal deficit, you're going to get expanded bank lending. The will of the people said that Obama should be president, okay? And Obama said, this is what I am, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, all right? Obama came there after the financial crisis and he said that people want to know where a bailout is. Okay, where's our bailout? Is well, I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you that $1 of capital in a bank is equal to $8 or $10 worth of loans, resulting in a faster pace of economic growth. You voted for it. Eat it. because that private debt's all on you, baby. All right? You voted for Obama. You voted for the Democrats. You voted for that private debt expansion. Okay? And I know I'm not excusing the GOP. Like I said, the GOP's lost their minds. They're fucking insane. And it's the same story, but just a different color.
Yep.
I mean, what?
Ellis, hold on. That right there, what you just said is a constant knock on me. Okay, and you saw that guy, David Akajian, even attacking me about that. Why don't I attack the GOP kind of shit, right? And the reality is that the GOP does what the GOP always does. When I look around at the so-called progressives and I see them look, smell, sound, and act exactly like the GOP, and they're out there spouting bigotry about the fucking Rothschilds, just the same as the GOP.
Difference?
What's
the fucking difference? You got the GOP over here. You got the GOP over here. You got the GOP over here talking about how African Americans are all worthless trash. All right, and talking about how white Americans who are poor are worthless trash as well. And then over here you've got progressives spitting anti-Semitic crap about the Rothschilds. Yeah, the Rothschilds are rich. That's great. But they're Jewish and they own central banks. Same shit Adolf Hitler said. I mean, come on. What's the fucking difference here? You want to get... It's so... Politics sucks.
I hate it. I fucking hate
people do things.
Extreme.
Politics makes what would be a normal thinking human being think like a fucking idiot. Like a fucking asshat. All right? Oh, I wear blue and I have a D here. Tax cuts, for who? For the, no, trickle down. No, I'm against it because D. Fuck you.
Exactly.
Fuck you.
So over it, dude. And you know something? Here's the thing, Ellis. When somebody tells me that I'm supposed to focus on beating up the GOP, that means I'm by extension giving air cover to the DNC. That means I'm by extension giving cover to these progressive asshats who are spreading shit about the Federal Reserve. And I don't really give two fucks about the Federal Reserve. See, I don't really care where it resides. I want to save lives today, right? So if somebody wants to change something after they've given me health care, after they've gone ahead and given me a job guarantee, after they've given me paid family and medical leave, after they've gone ahead and gotten rid of student debt forever, free college, energy, green energy, save the planet. You want to reform the Federal Reserve and you want to change it to your liking after you've saved the planet and saved our lives, more power to you, because then we'll have nothing better to do and you can play with your fetish. Okay? Yeah. But in the meantime, though, we need to feed people, clothe people, house people, give them health care, get them educated, and fucking save the planet all at once. I'm so tired of these fucking assholes and their Federal Reserve fetish. It's so aberrant and is prevalent in this so-called movement. How can you get anywhere if you're peddling worthlessness? I mean, seriously.
Basically, what you can say to these people, what I could say to these people right now is that MMT supports and has always supported moving the Federal Reserve under the flag of the U.S. Treasury. Okay? End of story. Maybe that would satisfy you. Okay? But guess what? Moving the scorekeeper under the flag of the U.S. Treasury is utterly pointless when it comes to saving lives and healthcare, to providing universal healthcare, an NHS system here in the U.S. for full employment, for infrastructure modernization. All right, it's all and green energy. It's all meaningless to that. You're just basically what you're basically saying is moving the U.S. government's bank over here instead of leaving it here. What the fuck does that do?
Rearranging
it makes you feel better that the chessboard has the pieces have been moved around. This is the U.S. government. It's the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve. Is an agency of the U.S. government. It's in Washington, D.C. Check it out. All right? They command and control the Federal Reserve. Okay? I don't give a fuck what you think about the New York Fed and there's all these Wall Street banks and they control the Fed. Fuck off, man. The U.S. government is not bankrupt. The Federal Reserve emits HPM. Good for them. all right? Because it's a
high-powered money.
Yeah, it's a creation of Congress for one reason only. Ready for it? So that the banking system could have some stability. Now they'll say, oh, but what about the financial crisis? Where was the stability? You saw it, motherfucker, when the Fed bailed out the payment system so that you could go to Walmart, swipe your debit card, and guess what? The payment would still go through. That's the whole point. You don't have banks. You don't have bank runs anymore and collapses everywhere and people who were once rich are now poor because they had Chase bucks. And these people had Bank of America bucks. Now everybody has US dollars now, thanks to the Federal Reserve. Like I said, the Board of Governors makes some stupid decisions. It's full up with asshat neoliberals and mainstream economists. Congratulations. That's fine and dandy. But who do you expect would... I mean, why would you expect a neoliberal like Obama to appoint someone who has any sense to the board of, as chairman of the Board of the Federal Reserve? Why would you expect anything but a neoliberal? All right? So, yeah, there's problems there, but eventually you get down to the nitty-gritty and it's Congress. Just like in the UK, it's Parliament. That's who to blame. That's where all the blame lies. You say, oh, no, the blame is the rich people that buy Congress. You know how asinine that statement is? I'll tell you. If the real danger, the real problem were the rich people that bought Congress, why are they buying Congress? The real fucking danger is Congress. That's the problem. That's the problem. The rich people come in and they buy them. Why are they doing it? Because they have to. Because Congress is the fucking authority. All right? The real problem is Congress. What are you going to do, let's say, if you had a Congress full up of 535 Ellises? Would the rich be able to buy them? No. Guess what? All the power's lost. Limp dicks, every last one of them. They limp dicks. Shrinky dink. Right? They get nowhere. They couldn't buy me, so they lose out everything. The people that, oh, Alec and Citizens United and shit, they can't get through to me. Okay? So it goes back to what Steve said. Congress is the problem. Why? Because they can be bought. And the people allow that. How do we allow that? You voted for it. Who's voting for Nancy Pelosi? Why is that rancid cunt still in office? Okay? Why is Dianne Feinstein in? Now's not the right time for universal health care. Okay, well, okay, so Dianne Feinstein, who voted for that bitch? Because she's unqualified to sit in Congress. She's there because somebody voted for her, not because a rich person paid for her to be there. I mean, let's be realistic about this. You bought the... Jesus, help me out here, Stephen. People say all the time, politicians are nothing but fucking liars. But when it comes to economics, they're telling the truth. Seriously, I'm going to go shave my head. No. This is fucking, I need to repent in dust and ashes for actually saying something like that. Again, what makes them not liars when it comes to economics, not liars when it comes to federal spending and how it works, but they're lying about everything else.
You know what else? It sucks because what you've got is a situation where the crust of this idiocy, this lie, is so thick and deep that to crack through it, you almost have to kill the person to break through the thickness, that like their skull, split it open, put new information in, because it's so thick they won't let anything penetrate. And then once you seal it up, you take a chance as to whether or not they live through the surgery of implanting smarts versus dumbs. It's a real difficult pill to swallow, Ellis, because people are literally dying over this. But I want to say something else too, and I can tell you right now what'll come up, and this is a very, very valid point. Our election system, our electoral process, the whole thing's a sham right now. I mean, there's so many inaccuracies, so much lack of trust in the system that it has caused people to check out. And that has got to be addressed. Let me go on the record as saying our electoral system must be made compliant, must be made something that we can believe in and trust in, that is accurate, that votes count, that we can. And, you know, quite frankly, if these two parties are going to have a fucking duopoly over our nation, and they shouldn't, but if we're going to parade that bullshit around, then God damn it, their primaries better be legislated by our nation, and they better be regulated like a regular election. And there should be no more shenanigans during the primaries. Oh, we're a private entity. Our bylaws say this, blah, blah, blah. Jared Beck is in there kicking ass, fighting this DNC lawsuit right now that is for everybody. And quite frankly, right now, between election fraud, not voter fraud, election fraud, okay? We have got real structural problems in this nation. And MMT is a very, very key component in how we solve that. If we understand that, it won't matter how corrupt our election system is.
That's important. That's it right there, Stephen. Exactly. If you had a critical mass of people, let's just assume you had 50% of the nation said, we understand and agree with the basics of MMT. We got that. How long will this corruption last? How long can it withstand? How long can it stand? You'd get steamrolled because people would no longer tolerate it.
It is victim mentality. It is victim bullshit. It is loser stuff. It is the excuse of why we can't do nice things. It gives people permission to check out of fighting. It gives people permission to stop actually learning how to make this shit happen. And so then they can just sit there and say, well, the elections are a joke. I'm not talking about it anymore. And that right there is like the fucking escapist. It's a bullshit fucking quitters mentality. Yeah. And it really is why our nation is fucked right now. Because you know what? What are you going to do? You see if we get this right. I want to make sure I get this right, Ellis, because this is a procedural thing that makes me laugh. So what they're saying is, we're not going to talk about this until we fix the election process. But the election process can't be fixed without talking about it and actually fighting tooth and nail to overturn. So the only way to really do this is to force the changes with populism. Make the people take it into their own hands and each one teach one and push this straight to the top and force their hand. But instead they'll sit there with a big old L on their forehead and find excuses for why they can't do anything, why all hope is lost, why we're powerless, etc. And the reality is it's in our hands.
We're not powerless. That's a bunch of bullshit. That's a bunch of bullshit. You look at the result. They can say, well, it's a different system over there in Great Britain, don't you know? You can say that all you want. Humans are humans, okay? The media is 50 times worse there than it is here, all right? And I'm telling you right now, look at that result, all right? It's got nothing to do, well, it's a different system. No, it's got something to do with desperation and hope, message of hope, and the real solutions presented to the people. And people say, I'm fucking sick of it. I want the solutions. I want the hope. Right? They're not powerless. You can sit there and you can argue, well, democracy is dead in America. There's no more such thing as democracy. The rich control everything. Then why are you fucking voting? Why did the election count suddenly? How is it that I go down to my district, whatever you call it here in America, down here when it comes time to vote for Congress, I vote for my House of Representatives, my member of the House. Why is it that my votes tally along with other people who voted in my district, and then guess what? This person's elected. If there's no democracy, even if democracy is fleeting, okay, you're going out to vote. You can change it. Now, if they go and they rig the vote afterwards, all right, then you can take to the streets. You're going to have to. But MMT makes all of this meaningless. The moment people understand this, it's either, how do you say it? Dianne Feinstein wouldn't last 10 seconds as a candidate. People would ignore and say, no, we're not voting for Feinstein and not voting for that GOP freak either. We got our own candidate. And they push that one. You don't allow it on the ballot? Revolution. I mean, it's coming. How many times do I have to say, federal job guarantee is coming, universal health care is coming, all right? It's coming to America. There's nothing the mainstream can do about it, all right? We're almost there. We haven't got far to go. End of story, all right? You don't need to destroy the system in order to win. You simply need to get rid of these scum, these neoliberal scum. And the way you do it is you refuse to vote for them, all right? You've got to have your own candidates. You've got to have people out there that are willing to participate. If you want to participate, you can't do it by telling people, I have a message of despair. What's that message, sir? The national debt is at crisis levels. The federal government is broke and borrowing from China, and we're all going to die from hyperinflation if we print the money to have universal health care. So my message is that we need to tax George Soros. That's my message. That's my message. Well, the fucking heard this message 50,000 times over 50,000 millennia, and now they're all bored. Taxes fall and federal spending. I mean, come on.
It's, you know what,
Get
Alex,
with the reality, man.
It's so many people are drawn to that like friggin' moths to a flame. It's not even funny.
I don't understand the appeal. I don't understand the appeal of finding out that we're broke and desperate.
They feel hopeless. They feel hopeless, and this justifies it. This allows them to explain their misery, okay? And then you got Ben Carson out there. Good old economist Ben Carson.
Yeah, that's economist. Yeah.
I saw his the article where he said the federal debt might be the single greatest threat to society. And folks, I've been telling you this for a long time. I have been telling you this for a very, very long time. The GOP is going to push for a balanced budget. And let me tell you right now, asshats like Sherrod Brown and fools like Dennis Kucinich, who are wrapped up in the I Still Don't Need Act, okay, and all the other people out there that have bought into Alex Jones mysteries and conspiracies, okay, these people exist. And if you think for a minute that just the GOP alone cannot absolutely crush our soul with a constitutional convention with but a few more state houses. They don't even need to get the state houses, quite frankly, because there are Democrats out there that would push for a balanced budget amendment. Folks, if you don't wake the fuck up, you're going to get really hurt. We're all going to get hurt. But I tell you what, it'll be good to at least be on the right side of this thing to say, I told you so. Though I take no pride in that because I want you to get activated. I want you to get angry, and I want you to understand this so you don't continue to act powerless. I mean, this is unacceptable. Can you imagine Sherrod Brown trying to peddle his progressive credentials while still sitting there saying he's a fucking balanced budget?
Okay, look, I'm going to say it, and I don't give a fuck. The balanced budget amendment, a balanced budget amendment, is economic suicide. End of story. There's nothing progressive about it. That's it. End of story. There's nothing progressive about a balanced budget amendment. If you want to believe that if he wants to believe that the federal government is broke, has no money of its own, and taxes and borrows to fund spending and all that, then I would like for him to please explain to me exactly where US dollars come from. And then I would like for him to explain to me why he thinks that the dollars are far more important than the real resources of the nation. So much so, in fact, that we have to leave tons of our real resources idle. We need to leave our labor supply idle. A lot of it. We got to leave a lot of it. Just sit there idle and go to waste because we got to worry about the federal budget. Well, let me put it to you this way, and I'll make it very clear. If you're worrying about balancing the budget and you realize that it's going to leave vast resources that we have idle, then what you're saying is there's not enough money to match the real resources. Are you crazy? Are you stupid or something to believe that we have fewer numbers available than we do real resources? Our real resources outweigh the numbers that we can produce. So now numbers are finite, are they? That's a strange form of math you got there, motherfucker. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. All right? Look at, I hate to bring up the Federal Reserve note again, but look at it. There's a 1 on it, and some of them have 10s, some have 5s, some have 50s, 20s, and 100. Those are fucking numbers, you idiot. They're numbers. But over here, the worker who can't find a job because he's been long-term unemployed since God knows how long, and he's in poverty, he's not a number. He's a human fucking being. There's a difference, okay? And when you sit there and say that the government's budget's like a household budget, and the government is broke and has no money of its own and taxes to fund spending and the national debt's a big threat, what you're basically saying is we're short of numbers and we're oversupplied on labor and food and everything else. There just isn't enough money to buy all that the nation can produce. Darn. You know how fucking stupid you sound? There's not enough I don't have enough numbers to multiply 1,000 by 1,000. Because I'm broke. I'm number broke. Dude, you're fucking, what the fuck is wrong with you? Look at the fucking piece of paper. It's a number. And it's got a picture of some ugly, dumb founding father or General Grant on it. Big fucking deal. It's a number. Where do you think they come from? Numbers are infinite. The government issues these things. It has a US dollar, so it's a little dollar symbol, and then it puts a number in front of it, and that tells you how many dollars. Okay, how many dollars? So if we saw a dollar sign, and then we saw the number 1,000 next to it, the question is, how many dollars? $1,000, you fucking moron. What is it you don't get about this? Seriously, here's a carpenter. Check him out. The builders showed up, and he was going to lay some flooring in for me. But guess what? He can't do it because he ran out of meters. He ran completely out of meters. He started to measure, and he said, uh-oh, tape measure won't go any further. I said, so what? And he said, well, I've run out of meters. I can't do the job for you. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's the same fucking thing. The government can't run out of dollars any more than a fucking builder can run out of meters. All right? But you can run out of food. You can run out of cars. You can run out of labor. All right? You can run out of houses. You can run out of land. Just not dollars. And once you get that fucking shite straight in your head, you'll realize that a balanced budget amendment is not progressive. It's economic suicide. Get it through your fucking head. Sit and use your fucking brain and think for a moment. Just think. That's all you need to do. Just think. And if you're going to ask me, well, where do my tax dollars go? Get out a fucking calculator and subtract 1,000 from 2,000. And then when you hit equals, answer, where did the 1,000 go? I don't know. Ask the fucking calculator because that's where your fucking taxes went, you moron. And now we're going to talk about language now. See how this works?
Well, let's talk about language for a second, Ellis. Talk to me in particular about fuck off.
Yeah, fuck all. Yeah, fuck all. This thing, all right, this thing about language and appropriate language. And I want Steve to get involved in this fucker because this is important, all right? Now, I've long been the type of person who says fuck. Fuck, fuck, fuckity fuck. Okay? And before me, there are other people, fuck, fuck, fuckity fuck. Alright? And, you know, you go back to George Carlin, way back in the day with the 7 dirty words, you know, shit, piss, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits. Yeah? Okay? People say, well, you know, when George Carlin does that, that's perfectly normal. When Eddie Izzard uses the fuck word and the bitch word and he says cunt and all that, that's just perfectly fine. But when Ellis does it, it's so unprofessional. He's a Bulgarian. He's a Bulgarian. He's a Bulgarian. No. See, it's time for you to understand. The old days are all gone, all right? The days of, you know, when Jesus, you know, hid in the closet to make sure that you said your prayers at night. Okay, and the little kids didn't go to school saying dirty words. And we shouldn't say foul language and all that. It's just fucking language. The word fuck is an abbreviation for unlawful carnal knowledge. So would you rather me say that? For unlawful carnal knowledge, Chris Leslie. There, you're happy now. It's a little bit more delicate for you. Fuck that. Right? Fuck, fuckity fuck, and fuck with a little bit of fuck on the side, just in case it's a little bland. Fuck, fuckity fuck. Now, why am I doing this? There are people out there, like I said, who said that Ellis's language, or, you know, Steve, or other people, you know, these people are supposed to be professional. They're supposed to be very professional here. I submit to you that my use of colorful metaphors and what you would call vulgar language is really a dynamic. All right? Think of a composer, for instance. When a composer like Mozart, who goes and writes a concerto or something, he writes dynamics in there. So like piano, so he puts a P there, or forte, he puts an F there, or mezzo forte, MF. all right? It's a dynamic, and it causes the volume to swell, to get quieter, to speed up or slow down. These are dynamics, all right? And my use of foul language, as they call it, fuck, shit, piss, whatever the fuck, cunt, twat, all right? My use of that is a dynamic. For instance, I could say, I'm very angry. Okay, great. Or I could say, I'm fucking angry. I am really fucking fuck angry. All right, but by saying that, you realize that I'm at the end of my rope. It's a dynamic, all right? So it tells you the degree of which I'm serious. It's artistry, as it were. How else could one say? It is a way to convey an emotion successfully to the populace. For instance, look, just a moment to take a moment out of our time to say, I'm really angry at Chris Leslie for all his Blairite nonsense. Okay, that's great. Or I could say, I'd like to take a moment to say, fuck Chris Leslie. You're very clear on my feelings about Chris Leslie. But the point is, it's not foul language. It's being used correctly. All right? It's not gratuitous. It's being used for, I chose the word fuck because it works for me at this present time in this context. How's that work for you? I could say shit. I could say cunt. I could say twat. Okay? Whatever word I choose, it's just a word in English. All right? But you're offended, you say. Oh, the children might be offended. Maybe your children should be offended at neoliberalism. Let's start there. You don't want your children listening to me because I say fuck, but it's okay to listen to Eddie Izzard. Okay? So that makes a lot of sense. And second of all, let's not let our children listen to Ellis because, you know, he's a very, very, very foul language man. You know, it's not very professional. I don't want them being influenced and using that kind of language. So basically you're saying that I'm more vulgar with the use of my chosen words and my use of English than, say, neoliberalism. And you believe that 40 years of neoliberalism, death, starvation, utter destruction, financial ruin of human beings and otherwise decent people, no health care, spread of disease, real resources being left idle forever and ever, lost output forever, long-term unemployment, and let us not forget the problems associated with long-term unemployment, which means social degradation, such as rising crime rates and high suicide rates, mental illness and physical illness rates increasing, you know, infrastructure collapsing, people dying everywhere. That's not vulgar. But the word fuck is too much for you to handle. Okay, well, you need to understand that the word fuck applies to neoliberalism. And it applies to every neoliberalism, every neoliberal, and every Blairite fuck, and every new Democrat fuck, including all of you fucking Clintonistas who have killed millions of people, who have destroyed millions of people's lives, all because your wealthy fucking neoliberal donors gave you some money, right? They gave you some money and they said, do these policies. And you said, okay, we're going to do that. And you ran your little surplus and crashed the economy. Then, you know, with your bank deregulation and all that, you got to have a great financial crisis too. It went global. And then because of that, the Tories ran with that and said, oh, look, Labour is what caused the global financial crisis in the UK. So we need 7 years of austerity. And we're going to tell people with terminal cancer that they're fit for work and cut off their benefits, and watch thousands of people die. That's not vulgar. That's not as vulgar as hearing Ellis say shit or fuck. Maybe fuck applies. Okay? That's my chosen word. Fuck. Right this moment. Fucking Blairites. Fucking New Democrats. Fucking Clintonistas. Fuck you. Okay? There's nothing offensive about what I'm saying. It's not gratuitous. It's perfectly acceptable language because I'm using it in the proper context. Fuck Bill Clinton. Fuck Hillary Clinton. Fuck the Democratic Party. Fuck Chris Leslie. Fuck New Labour. Fuck all you fucking Tories. Fuck all of you. Fuck the DUP. Okay. Let's see. Fuck Ted Cruz. Fuck the GOP. All right. Why am I doing this? I'm telling you that the times have changed. It's not 1950, okay? And if you can turn on the telly today and watch people having sex, or you can see the naked ass of a man, all right, and they can sit there running around screaming, fuck this and fuck that, and fuck me harder, or ride me, big bill, then an economist can sit here, or an analyst could sit here on live stream and say, fuck Chris Leslie, fuck the Tories, fuck Blairites, fuck you Democrats, fuck the Clintonistas, and fuck all you neoliberals. You neoliberal cocksuckers. Every last one of you can go fucking straight to fucking hell. See how it works? English. And I know you understood me too. So the thing is that I'm not doing it gratuitously to turn off people's, oh, I can't stand it, I can't stand it. Maybe you should get out of the 50s, because I Love Lucy's not on telly anymore. And you know, I Love Lucy, what's the worst thing that Lucy or Desi Arnaz could say on that show? Darn. Or something like that, you know? Nowadays, you turn on House of Cards, it's fuck, fuck, fuckity, fuck, mother, fuck, fuck, fuck. But yet I'm not allowed to use that on a live stream to talk about Tony Blair. Give me a break, all right? No, you know you want to hear it. You know you want to hear it. Because I am just saying what every one of us wants to say, but are afraid to say. Fuck Bill Clinton. Fuck Larry Summers and fuck Milton Friedman. Uncle Milt here, right here. Or how about what Jonathan Pye said? Wing armor. Okay, right there. Right. You fucking Blair. What did he say at the end of that part of that long rant he said about the Blairites? He said, because I'm laughing at Tony Blair because New Labour is dead, you fuckers! You see, it makes sense. Times are changing. It's not just me. It's other people too. And it's not gratuitous. It's professionalism. It's a new type of professionalism. We aren't stuffy-headed academics that sit up there and go, oh, well, you know, we've got to be careful of our image. Some people choose to be gentle. Others people, you know, they choose to use English in a very broad way, and I'm one of those people. Fuck it. Okay? So, there it is. And I think that, you know, over the years, Barack Obama's deserved a healthy fuck you. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, I do indeed, sir.
Exactly. And what about Hillary Clinton?
Oh, double. No, dude, that's she gets this.
I know, I understand. Fuck her too.
Straight up to Hillary, you know?
Right. But look around you. Look around you now, and you see progressives, so-called progressives, who are desperate to prop up the Clintonistas and their message of, well, we're broke and we got to cut that deficit. That's exactly what killed thousands of Americans.
Amen.
So what shall we say about that? Oh, well, that's all right because you're a progressive. It's okay that, no, fuck no. No. You support Hillary Clinton. Here's the message. Here's why Bill Clinton's surplus was wrong. Here it is. We've outlined this for you in black and white. It makes perfect sense. There's no logical inconsistency whatsoever. And when you say to me, that's not how it works, fuck you. That's when you get a fuck you. All right? That's what I'm saying, fuck you to you. But my fuck yous, as you'll notice, are saved for the professionals and the politicians. But occasionally I'll deliver a healthy fuck you to someone who tells me after I've spent 10,000 words explaining something with no logical inconsistencies, all they have to say is, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. That's all you've got to say, fuck you.
Now, I will tell you something else. One of the things that came to me, and this is a difficult thing, just to assuage one thing. Way back, I was listening to young people, especially people that had been global travelers. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they have no problem dropping the C word like it's every other. I can't do it. I will not. I cannot use the C word. And I know it's used all over the world, but I have been around many women who are deeply offended by it. But yet in England and all over
different. It's different. It's different.
I don't
it's
get
different. It. It's different in the UK, like twat. These words they're different. They're different in the UK. The word twat means idiot. It means, you know, like, you're dumbass, you know, you're a fucking dumbass, you know, you're a twat, you know, a cunt, a rancid cunt. what that means is these people are fucking idiots. They're completely useless, moronic trash. That's what it means. In America, it's a vulgar slang directed right at women. All right, you see, and I don't use it in that regard. I'm using it in the English sense of the word. So I have to be careful what our audience. If I'm talking to a British audience, I say, "Oh, you fucking rancid cunt," and people understand what I'm saying. But if I'm talking America, well, maybe I am talking about Nancy Pelosi now. But anyway, Nancy Pelosi, you know, in American audience, what I mean to say by that is that she's a stupid fucking imbecile. You understand?
Yes.
Right. So like I said, it's creative language, and no, it's not directed at women. Obviously not. It has a different meaning entirely.
You know, and one of the things that has been difficult for me, because, you know, obviously when you've been educated and you've gone to school and you've taken a lot of time to learn and so forth, they teach you some etiquette. You go and you get a real job, so to speak, and you go to this real job and you show up for this real job, and they expect certain behavior out of you at your real job and blah, blah, blah. But then real life is that you can't express anything. You're always contained. They always let you know exactly where you stand. You're like in a box. And the reality is we're not in a box. We're able to express exactly how we feel, where we're coming from, and why we're saying what we're saying. And you know what? This is not intended to be. I wish, you know, there are times where some of my rants are rated PG, but most of them are rated R, folks. They're intended for the voting population to be able to take and listen to and activate on. And you know, here's a sad truth. For 30 years, Mosler, Kelton, that whole band of heroes of ours has labored as gentlemen and gentle ladies throughout the through the economic academia apparatus. They've gone around and they've been absolutely gentlemanly and sweet and kind. And they have needed help from activists forever. Because you know what? The idiots at the end, the Fed crew, they've got droves of armies out there screaming, "Hang the Fed! Hang the Fed!" and "Rothschilds!" and all the other stuff they do. And the good guys have been without an army. Well, folks, we're here. We are the army. And we are bringing the real deal. We're ready to shoot real, honest-to-God knowledge bombs out the freaking cannon. And that's the deal. That's the deal. We represent the armed forces of modern monetary theory. We are not the ones that are going to be shaking hands, kissing babies, being very sweet and kind. Because the reality is, as much as we'd like to be that, there are a lot of people already doing that, and they need air cover. They need folks doing the freaking dirty work. And that's where we're at. We are the folks that are at the street level, working with activists, working with people that are elected officials that have to deal with this day in and day out, deal with nasty constituencies that don't understand economics. And we're here to provide air cover. We're here to teach, and we're here to make sure people understand that this is life and death. We're not talking about nonsense. We're talking life and death. If you don't get that, the fuck yous are going to really, really offend you. But once you realize that the cutting of spending is lethal, not partially lethal, not semi-lethal, not in your opinion, none of this bullshit. It fucking kills people. And once you realize that, your language is going to change too, I promise you.
Yeah, that's, you know, like I said, check out Jonathan Pye's video there after the election where he used like an extensive use of the word fuck in all of its forms. Because the fact is that Tory policies kill people, all right? And so the language is warranted. Now, the language that I use tonight on this live stream might not be warranted at a convention or a panel, all right? And that's fine. But we're talking about, I'm trying to relate to the general public here. And you know, I come from a working class background, so I'm going to relate to the people here. And believe it or not, there are lots of people out there that are not offended by what I say. In fact, they think it's well deserved. Guess what? I don't need everybody. Stephen doesn't need everybody. MMT doesn't need to have every single person. It doesn't need to win every single person. It only needs a small number of people, enough to reach critical mass, and then it's going downhill. And it goes downhill from there, the momentum picks up, and it's all over. And those of you who found the word fuck to be offensive or whatnot, I guess, you'll come along for the healthcare, right? You'll come along. But like I said, if you really think that me using the word fuck or other people saying fuck or shit or shite is far, far worse and far, far more vulgar than the effects of neoliberalism, you have a screw loose. You have a screw loose. This isn't about Jesus. This isn't about having the proper decorum and the proper language, and we have to be nicey-nicey. I don't have to be nice to professionals who pushed austerity. I don't have to be nice to the politicians who enacted it and killed people. I don't have to be nice. I'm not going to be nice. I'm not going to show reverence for language. I'm not going to show deference to these people. I'm going to tell it how it is. You fucking belong in prison, you fuck. End of story. Okay? It's just that simple. And, you can, I guess, tune out the Fs if you don't like it. But I'm not talking to the general public. I'm talking to professionals. I'm talking about and directly at professionals here. So you need to understand that maybe you and your kids need to get a healthy dose of fuck you too towards neoliberalism. Yeah, maybe it's something they need to hear. Because God only knows by the time they're old enough to use the word fuck, they're probably too poor to speak. Then where will you be, huh? So seriously, language, please. My use of foul language has absolutely nothing to do with my knowledge level of what I'm talking about, the subject, right? I can say fuck all day, but I could also sit and talk to you about central bank operations to the point where your head will explode, right? And I can do it by using the word fuck occasionally as well.
And that's why something so dry as economics that most people look at like paint drying or grass growing, that's why we're able to take this subject and go night after night about it, because number one, it is by far and away the most important subject you're ever going to learn, because it satisfies the environment, it satisfies healthcare, it satisfies student loan industry, it satisfies green energy, it satisfies every single step along the way that you can. Does it, Alice? I want to just end on this note because we're getting up there on time. But I just want to say this to everybody. Do you not get sick and tired of seeing people raise their fist in the air, angry about subjects, angry about these subjects that we all need, that we're all in lockstep on, that we're all in unison on? Medicare for all, this, that, and the other for all, end student debt, blah, blah, blah. But then when you try and tell them, here's how we can do it, you hear the, I mean, this is like the most atrocious thing about the movement is this particular end result. So, fuck off.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, yeah. See, it's refreshing, isn't it? Using language.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
there's one right here.
So, listen, Alice, I want to thank you very much for a great show tonight. I appreciate the fact that we have a honest to God, real shot at making change, providing hope. And for those that would dash that hope, talking nonsense, you know what? Double-fisted F you, Anyway, Ellis, thank you very much, sir. And I will catch you on the flip side.
Yep.
Tomorrow night, I've got Jordan Cheriton with me. Tuesday night, I have Jolt and Joe Firestone making up for Saturday night. And then Thursday night, I got David Cobb joining me here at Real Progressives. In the meantime, Wednesday night, you got Mike Sionato, and Thursday night late, you got Zach Aller. So with that, I'm Steve Grumbine, got Ellis Winningham. Thank you all so much for your time. We'll see you soon. Good day, everybody.